Hi friends, Namaste. When I tell Dhanpat Rai Shrivastava, many people may not be very much familiar about this particular name, but when I mention his pen name, the pen name of this particular author as Premchand ji or Munshi Premchand ji, this particular name Munshi Premchand may evoke many emotions, especially in those people who know this person as a very good author, and it will create a lot of emotions, especially if you are used to read Hindi literature or Urdu literature written by or penned down by Munshi Premchand ji. Is such a fantastic and fabulous writer and author was Munshi Premchand ji. His stories are very simplistic and very close to our heart, and it covers different stratas of the society. They are not a big extravagant stories set up in big locations having mind-blowing characters, nothing like that. But Munshi Premchand's way of story narrative itself is so simple, so humble that it connects with the common man, it connects with the environment, it connects with the stories which are happening in and around us, especially the stories are set up in the ancient India. So author Munshi Premchand belonged to the pre-independence era. So today happens to be his birth anniversary, and remembering the great soul Munshi Premchand ji for his wonderful works, I pay my respects and also salutes to Munshi Premchand ji for giving us such fantastic stories, the stories which were made into television series, serials. So even as we were kids, we used to watch Munshi Premchand's stories being translated and made into the television serials, especially by Doordarshan. Those were fantastic days. One more person I want to remember when I mention Munshi Premchand. Munshi Premchand and his stories are big emotions for me, not only because he is a great author and I love his books and his works and his stories, his simple stories connecting to the heart, connecting to the soul, connecting to the senses, being built up in a simple and humble environment, having very simplistic characters who really carry life values, and nothing is fictional there. So everything, so even the stories doesn't end up with a big bang climax, like there are open endings for many of his stories. Again, coming back to one more person who is very closely associated with me, with Munshi Premchand, is my father. He was the person who has introduced the character of Munshi Premchand to us when we were kids. So he has done his BA and MA in Hindi literature, and my father was the first person to have introduced this particular character. If he happens to see this video and if he happens to hear the name of Munshi Premchand right now, he will still get emotional because he has a lot of connectivity with Munshi Premchand and his stories. So the first story which I had heard from him was Gaban, and he had narrated that when that happened to be flashed in the television in the Doordarshan, during the Doordarshan times, and he gave a small narrative because we were not very much familiar with the Hindi. The fascination and love towards Hindi literature, especially good-hearted authors like Munshi Premchand, everything started from my father. So he was so much fascinated. So Munshi Premchand also happens to be one of the favorite authors for my dad, and also one of the favorite authors to me also. So that is the connect we have between us, so like a triangle. So my father, me and Munshi Premchand. So I could even put this particular title in my thumbnail. So fantastic reading Munshi Premchand's novels. So here is the book, The Great Stories of Munshi Premchand. So this is a fantastic book which carries so many stories. I think it is available on Amazon or Flipkart. You can procure this particular book from there. Here we can see the wonderful persona of Munshi Premchand and the title, The Great Stories of Munshi Premchand. It has plenty of stories, I should tell. You'll love reading those stories, as many as around 44 to 45 stories we have, and each story is really fascinating, and it definitely appeals to you, definitely touches your heart and soul, and you will be transported to that particular area in which Munshi Premchand ji was there. So wonderful writings. I just love this character, love this persona of Munshi Premchand. When I see Munshi Premchand ji's photograph, I feel so much of humbleness and so much of innocence and so much of goodness in his face, isn't it? I remember one of my maternal grandfathers, Tara Suji, who is also an icon, a big writer in Kannada literature. So I could correlate these two characters. Even Tarasu has given plenty of things to Kannada literature. Very good stories, very good novels which were converted into movies. Fantastic character he was. The face resemblance and also the style of writing I could identify. Even in Tarasu's many short stories and also novels, there was simplicity, there was humbleness, and there was a lot of goodness and real life characters we used to feel, real life stories we used to feel when we read through those literatures. Sometime I will review who is Tarasuji and also what are his work and what is his contribution to the Kannada literature. For time being, we are speaking about Munshi Premchand ji, and we will not deviate from this particular topic. Yes, Munshi Premchand was the what I can call it as the pen name through which Srivastava ji became very popular as a writer. For his works and contribution towards the literature, he was also called as Upanyas Samrat. He was entitled Upanyas Samrat. So what a title, isn't it? Like a king, the author being a king himself of his own dynasty, creating his own world of stories. Upanyas Samrat definitely suits this great author Munshi Premchand. He was also known as the pioneer, one of the best pioneers of Hindi and Urdu literature. Society, social problems, social issues, and covering the different social strata. So these were the areas or the playground of Munshi Premchand, where he played with his stories and beautiful characters. So he was a master of social fiction. In simple words, we can tell that. I would love to borrow a line from Wikipedia and read it out for you. Wikipedia about Munshi Premchand ji tells he was one of the first authors to write about caste hierarchies and plights of women and laborers prevalent in the society of the late 1880s. So that was written in Wikipedia when I was doing a little bit of research for this particular video. Fantastic line. So he was the first person to touch certain aspects of the society and highlight them in his novel through his beautiful and simplistic storytelling. As I said, the first story of Munshi Premchand ji narrated to us by our father and also the character and also the author introduction we got about Munshi Premchand ji and fell in love with his stories was Gaban, as I already said. The other famous works of Munshi Premchand ji includes Godan and Karmabhumi, Manas Sarovar and Eidgah are some of his fantastic works, Munshi Premchand ji's works. He has written dozens of novels and more than 300 short stories. Can you believe it? Such a fantastic author he is. He has also penned down essays and he has done a lot of translation works from the foreign books to the Hindi. A lot of translation work has also been done by Munshi Premchand ji. One of them is Tolstoy ki Kahaniya. He himself being an author of short stories, he has translated Leo Tolstoy's short stories into Hindi and has titled it as Tolstoy ki Kahaniya. So it shows the respect given by Munshi Premchand ji to the other authors. The authors he was closely following and the works which he admired, and such a good-hearted, humble person he was. It is very difficult to appreciate somebody else's works and give a translation to their work. I also read that he has written a script for a particular movie and has scripted for many plays, the screenplay. Some of his works, Munshi Premchand ji's works, were translated onto the screen in the form of movies. One popular one was Gaban. That movie was made in Hindi in the same name. And Do Bailon Ki Katha was one of the story written by Munshi Premchand, and that was made into a movie, but its title was changed and the movie was titled as Hira Moti. If you can remember Shatranj Ke Khiladi, the National Film Award winning movie Shatranj Ke Khiladi, directed by none other than Satyajit Ray, that story also belongs to the stories of Munshi Premchand. Guldasta was a television series which was telecasted on Doordarshan in the Doordarshan days, I would love to call. They were the compilation of the stories or the collection of stories from Munshi Premchand ji's desk. and that was a wonderful series. I still could remember Munshi Premchand ki kahani or kahaniya, or Munshi Premchand ki amar kahaniya, something like that. The title of the series, again, that was also telecasted on Doordarshan. So our childhood was spent in watching this series, because again, as I said, this author was introduced to us by none other than my father. So on the birth anniversary of the great author Munshi Premchand ji, I would love to dedicate this video to Munshi Premchand ji and his wonderful stories, and special dedication to my father with respects and a lot of love.